Welcome to this Wunderbuild tutorial. In this video, we'll look at how we create an estimate, starting with how we would add our plans in order to produce a takeoff for our estimate. We'll look at how we can add our takeoffs to the plan that we've imported into Wunderbuild, and also some of the features and functionalities of Wunderbuild's takeoff tool. We'll take a look at how we can add our takeoffs to the costing, and also how we can do a takeoff from the costing itself. So the first thing we do is we go to estimations, hit new estimation, add the name for our estimate. Let's just call this one test street, estimation type, select new build from there, but you can add in your own estimation categories. Client, just select sample client from the list. You can also select an estimation template if you've got any created. So I'll select this one here, which I've got from my templates menu. You can also add in any markup in this section, and obviously the site address details, but I'll just leave that blank for the moment. And we hit create. Okay, so the next screen shows that we can upload our plans into our estimate. So let's do that. So I'll just drag my plans into here, hit next. You can see they're uploaded into this screen. Now what you want to do is rotate them so they're showing in the correct view. And then select each plan, hit next. Now the next screen that will come up is showing you the plans, and it'll ask you to calibrate to scale. So if you zoom in on each plan, you should be able to find the scale. And you can see this one's at 1:100, and it's got this option here already of 1:100 at A3. Now what you can also do is, if that scale isn't shown in this scale drop box here, you can add your own custom scale. Just by typing it in and hitting create. Otherwise, what you can do is, if you need to create your own scale, if for whatever reason the sheet size isn't shown here or the scale isn't shown in this drop down menu, what you can do is select custom from the sheet size, and then what that will do is it'll ask you to calibrate the scale by taking a measurement from the plan. So I just pick this one here, for example, and we take our line from here to here. We know that's 5300, so we'll enter that here. And let's hit next, and that'll take us to our next plan. And again, we can check the scale just to make sure that it's either the same as the previous plan, or if we need to do a custom scale again, we'll leave this at 1:100 as it's shown here, and we'll just hit next. And now we'll be able to start our takeoff section. So once we've got our plans in our estimate, we want to click this Add Takeoff button, and this will bring up the new takeoff screen, where we can start adding in all the different takeoffs we're going to be doing on this estimate. So the first one we'll do is slab area, square meters. Now you can also categorize all the different takeoffs. So let's create a new category here, and we'll call this footing takeoffs. Now, since this is slab area square meters, we'll obviously click square meters here, and we'll hit create. Now what we can do is we'll be able to actually measure the plan with these tools as shown up here. So you've got your line, polygon, rectangle, and since this isn't a regular shape, we'll use the polygon just to measure this whole slab area of this home. So if we click here, and then what we can do is zoom in and just start dragging around this slab area, which is in the entire home, obviously. So it's just point and click. And we just drag our way around. You can see as we're dragging around, it starts picking up the area. And then once we get to the end, we just double click. And you can see we've got our first takeoff area here, and it's showing the total square meters being 277.5 square meters for this slab area. So the next thing we can do is we can actually calculate the cubic meters of concrete for this slab. Now we can actually use this same square meter takeoff. What we will do is let's hit this copy button here. That'll bring us to this copy takeoff screen. So what we'll do is we'll change this name here to slab area cubic meters now. We can leave the category under footing takeoffs, and then here we'll click cubic meters and we'll put in the depth of this slab. Just say this slab is 100 mil, and now we'll hit create. So what that will automatically do is take the square meters of our previous takeoff and then apply that 100 mil depth to get us our cubic meters of this slab area. Now what we can also do with this same square meter takeoff is also calculate linear meter quantities from that takeoff. So let's just say we wanted to work out how many linear meters of edge beam there was around this slab. All you would do is the same thing. I'd click this initial takeoff of the square meters. I'd hit copy. And let's call this one edge beam linear meters. We'll leave the category as it was under footing takeoffs, and then we'll select linear meters here. So I'll click there, create, and then you can see it's automatically calculated the linear meters of this slab area from the initial takeoff we did. You can see that showing as 83.11 linear meters. Now another takeoff tool we can use whilst we're doing our slab quantities or measurements is the cylinder cubic meters tool. So let's just add a takeoff and I'll show you how we do that. So let's just say this slab had board piers and we want to calculate the cubic meters of concrete for those board piers. Let's put in our name here, board piers. The category will be under footing takeoffs again. And we'll select cubic meters here and do create. And what you can see is this cylinder tool here, which allows us to calculate the cubic meters of a cylinder. And obviously board piers are cylindrical. So what you would do is click this button, and let's just say we had board piers that were 3 meters deep and had a diameter of 450. Check them off. And then it'll come up with this marker tool where you can place where you want those board piers to be. So let's just say we had 4 along this wall. And then you'll see it counts those 4 board piers that we've placed those marks for. The depth is 3 meters, diameter is 450, and it's given us the cubic meters of concrete or area to excavate for each of those board piers. Let's do another example, this time looking at floor coverings. So let's add takeoff. Let's call this one floor tiling. Again, we can add a category here. So let's call this one flooring. And floor tiling will be in square meters. So we'll click square meters here, hit create. And let's do our floor tiling measurement to these two rooms. As an example, the bathroom and the laundry. So I'll click my polygon tool here, and I'll just measure around the room. Okay, so that first room is 3.53 square meters. Let's do the laundry. Now, what you can also do is you can modify and change these takeoff measurements that you've done. So you can see this one here, I've gone a bit over the wall line. So what you do is click this pencil button here, and you can just drag that takeoff measurement over just to adjust the area and get things spot on if you do make a bit of a mistake. So just hit save. And what you can also do, of course, is delete an area. So if you click this delete button, select the area, and then hit save, that'll delete that from the takeoff that's just been completed. Now let's do our wall tiling takeoff. So if we go to add takeoff, call this one wall tiling, square meters. And let's put this under, let's call this one wall finishes as an example. And we'll select square meters and hit create. Now what we want to do is click this line button here, and what that'll do is it'll bring up our wall heights option that we can add in. So let's just say that we wanted to do a takeoff for floor to ceiling tiles. We'll go full wall height, which is 2700 in this example. And then what we can do is just drag around the room that we want our full floor to ceiling tiling. Let's just say it's in this WC here. So then that shows us that for the wall tiling, we have a total of 14.08 square meters, and that's derived by calculating the linear meters of the room, 5.22, by that 2.7 meter wall height that we added in to give us this 14.08 square meters. Another feature is that we can also make deductions from our wall area. So let's just say, using this same example, that we wanted to deduct this window from our wall tiling measurement. So what we would do is go to this scissor button here, showing with the line, click this, and here where it's got wall height, what we want to do is modify that to make that the height of the window. So this window is 600 high, so we'd add 600 here, click this tick, and then we'll just measure across as such. Double click there. And now what you can see is that it's picked up that this takeoff, which we've derived from taking the height of the window by the length of the window, which is also shown here. So 0.59, or call it 0.6 linear meters by that 600 millimeter height, gives us a negative 0.35 square meters. So that's that window area, and now that's been deducted from our overall floor to ceiling wall tiling in this room to give us the true square meter quantity of tiling in this room area. Let's do another example. This time we'll look at how we derive linear meters from a square meter takeoff. So let's add another takeoff here. And we'll call this one floorboards. And we can put this under our flooring category. The measurement is linear meters. So we'll leave that as is, and we'll hit create. So now if we click on this new takeoff that we've just created there, and let's assume that this lounge area is going to now have floorboards instead of the carpet that's shown. So let's click there. And then what will happen is that when we select this rectangle tool, for example, it'll come up with the material width. So let's just say our floorboards are 90 millimeters wide. We'll enter that here. And now when we do our takeoff, you can see we've got 188.27 linear meters. So that's shown here as well. So based on the 16.94 square meters of the room, it's worked out that based on our 90 mil board width, we've got 188.27 linear meters of floorboards for that room. Now what we can also do is work out our linear meter quantity with spacing taken into account. So we do this with subfloor materials, for example, or maybe cladding materials where the cladding material was installed at a certain spacing. Let's just do decking in this example, and we'll assume we're doing a takeoff for our decking joists. So let's add a takeoff. We'll call this decking board. Let's put that under flooring as well, and we'll leave our measurement as linear meters again. Hit create. Now what we can do is, let's just say we were going to put decking to this part of the alfresco. So we'll click this button over here, and you can see it gives us the option of putting in a spacing. So let's assume our joists are at 450 centimeters, and the direction of those joists is vertical, looking at this plan. Click the tick button there, and then we can do our takeoff again. Just like that. That's our decking area. And you can see that it's worked out that we've got 37.73 linear meters of decking boards. And we can see that those decking boards are 3.77 linear meters long by 3.6 linear meters wide. Overall, that is. And that's worked out at that 450 millimeter spacing to this area. So first, we're in our takeoffs area within the estimate. So you can see I've got all the takeoffs that I've created here. Now, what you can do is if you hit this Add Takeoffs to Costing button, you'll see it'll bring up all the takeoffs that you've got for the estimate. And if you go to this cost category column here and you select whichever cost category that particular takeoff applies to, and you just go through and select each one. Obviously, as this is just an example, I'm not matching to the exact cost categories that they should be matched to, but just to show you in this example, once a cost category has been selected for each takeoff, you'll be able to hit create, and that'll automatically import these takeoff line items into the costing based on the costing category that you selected here. The other way is to call up the takeoff from the costing itself. So if we go to our costing section of the estimate, and let's just go to our slab cost code, for example, and I'll just go to edit, and I'll just add an item here at the bottom. And what you can do is if you click this calculator icon here, you'll see that you have the option to insert the takeoff into that line item. So I'll just go to the drop down here, and you can see the footing takeoffs that I've created. And what you can also do is that you can get the quantities to automatically calculate. So it's a linked takeoff, and you do that by clicking this toggle here. So if we want to take, for example, all the concrete cubic meters that we need to allow for this project, I'll select the board piers here, and then I'll hit the drop down again, and I'll also select the slab area cubic meters. And you can see those two takeoffs are added in to the line item. And you can see the total cubic meters of concrete here, which is calculated here as a total. So we've got 29.66 cubic meters. And then you can see you've also got the option to add wastage, also add rounding, whether you want to round up or down or to the nearest figure. So there's a few options there. And now, like I mentioned, because we've got this toggle marked as on, this takeoff will automatically always link to this costing line item. So any changes to this takeoff or these two items will automatically change the quantities and update in our costing section here. So I'll just show you that in an example, how that works. So let's just click accept here. And we better give this a name. We'll call it slab concrete cubic meters. And I'll just hit update. Okay, so you can see that we've got 30 cubic meters of concrete as it stands for the slab. And you can also see this this little right angle icon here. So if I click that, that'll automatically take me to the takeoff plan. And that sort of links to the takeoffs that are associated with that costing line item. What we want to do is show you how the takeoff affects the costing specifically from having that linked takeoff item. So if I go to footings, and what we can do is let's just go to this slab area takeoff, and maybe what we can do is let's just add another section here. So click this tool, the depth was 100 millimeters, and let's just now add the porch area to the slab. Okay, so we've got here 0.56 cubic meters of concrete. You can see that that's added that extra takeoff to the slab area. Let's just do a few other changes as an example. Let's add in a few more board piers. So if I click our cylinder tool, and our depth was 3 meters, and the diameter was 450. And let's now just add in a few more board piers along here. So what did we do? We added in another 4 board piers. That's obviously increased our total cubic meters of concrete. And what we can now do is if I hit next to go to the costing screen, and I go to that slab cost category, and I go down to that slab concrete cubic meters line item, you can see that that's increased by 2 meters there. And again, it does that by when we click this calculator icon and we select this toggle to automatically link the takeoff to the costing wherever we've added a takeoff to a specific line item in our costing. If we don't want it to link, all we have to do is untoggle this off, and we can clear that. And then we can still add in our takeoffs. It just means that they won't automatically link. So let's just add in the board piers again, hit plus, and then we'll add in our slab area cubic meters. Again, it gives you the same figure, but this isn't linked now to the takeoff. So if you do make any changes to the takeoff further to this one that we just made, it won't update this figure. One other thing you can do is that if you do want to link your takeoff items to specific line items in your costing, you can actually also link that from another part of the takeoff window here. So if I go to flooring and I select floor tiling as an example, and what we want to do is if we click this pencil icon here to edit this takeoff, you can see that we've got the option here of a costing lookup. So if I click here and I want to link my floor tiling to tiling or tile supply, and I want to link it to the floor tiles, so I'll just click add and then hit close and hit update. And then again, what that will automatically do is link this takeoff item to the costing. So we've got 3.53 square meters of tiles or floor tiles. And if I go to the costing now, that should also be linked up where I allocated it under that tile supply internal floor tiles line item there. So just another way to link your takeoff to your costing if you do decide that you want your quantities to automatically link to specific line items in your costing. And then the final way that we can add a takeoff to the costing is from the costing section itself. So if we want to do a takeoff for a material and we're in the costing area, we just go to that particular line item, and let's just say we want it to measure a deck for how many square meters there was, so we can work out a labor rate. So let's just do that one as an example. So we'll go to this carpentry labor to build decking, and what we'll do is we'll hit this calculator icon again. And now instead of selecting from an existing takeoff quantity that we've done, what we'll do is we'll just hit the plus button here, and then that'll automatically take us to the window to be able to create a new takeoff. And you can see it's already populated the name based on what was noted down in that costing line item. Let's just leave the category as default for this example, and we'll select square meters. We'll hit create. And now let's just assume that we're going to do decking to this rear alfresco area. So let's select the rectangle tool there. Okay, so we've got 13.44 square meters for the decking area, and I'll just hit save. And you can see that's then populated back into this calculator screen. And if I hit accept, you can see it adds that measurement into our line item there for carpentry labor to build decking. That concludes this Wunderbuild tutorial. Stay tuned for the next video.